Hello, I'm here in my office, and it is Thursday, isn't it? No, it's Wednesday. It's actually Wednesday today, and I'm very excited that it is Wednesday because that means that it's halfway through the week, and that means we have 2 more days to go till the weekend. And what are you going to do this weekend? Like me, you may be staying inside your house, which is also fun. I know I've been enjoying it. I have recently had a haircut. I don't know if you've seen this, but my hair was getting very long in the show, and I had to immediately go find a barber who was willing to put a mask on and cut my hair. Fortunately, I have one, and he's right around the corner. So thank you, Seth, if you're watching. Well done. McSwain. Seth McSwain. Look him up. He'll cut your hair, and it's amazing. That's my one advertisement during the show. Today, we have a very special guest, and I'll go into more of how I actually came to know him. Actually, we've never met. This is our first time meeting. We just saw each other for the first time like 2 minutes ago. So it should be an interesting conversation. I have with us today Nick Kohn, who was recently in Avenue Q for about, oh gosh, how many years? I'm waiting for him to hold up fingers. 16 years. 16 years. I can still count with my fingers or with someone else's fingers, which I'm very proud of. Anyway, I want to bring him out now. He's been enjoying, of course, the charcuterie board. As you know, I always provide to my guests a plethora of cured meats and artisanal cheeses, as well as baked goods made by me, as one does. Here he is, folks. Nick Kohn, how's it going?
Thanks, dear, for the iced coffee. Look, they give you iced coffee here in the green room.
I didn't know what they were serving today. I was hoping it would be iced coffee because I'm
in a Hamilton cup, nonetheless.
Wow, really? So
you can sell these for $10, I think, on eBay. People now really? They might be worth more since we have no Broadway. But
I think I have a mini cup, but it was from the Chicago Hamilton, so it doesn't even say Hamilton on it. It just has like the name of the theater.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is
I'll send you one. I think I have like 3 of these. I've been lucky enough to see it.
Sweet. So, yeah. Can you have it signed by someone in the cast? That would be perfect.
How about my 5-year-old? Does that work?
That works. That works. In Sharpie. Make sure it's in Sharpie. Yeah.
Oh, it'll be in Sharpie.
So we have one person who has shouted out that they are watching. I don't know. Do you know Shelly Williams?
Shelly, I do know Shelly. Hi, Shelly.
Hey, excellent.
She's a member of the family. Yeah, I'm originally from South Carolina, like you, right?
Yes, absolutely. I was born outside of Atlanta, but my family is from South Carolina, and I lived there a good portion of my formative years, as one might say. So you were right outside of Columbia, is that right?
Yeah, we were actually in Columbia, West Columbia, I guess you call it, and then we moved to Northern Virginia when I was, I want to say 10. And we lived there for the rest of my childhood-ish, and I went to school in Virginia. So
wow! So we did the opposite track.
Yeah.
When I was about 1 year old, we moved to Maryland. I think it was 1. My mom's going to tell me in a minute. She's watching.
I think my parents are watching too. Yeah.
Well, so when I was 1, we moved to Maryland. Lived right inside Silver Spring. I'm sure you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
A Beltway city, as we call it.
Yeah.
And we moved to South Carolina when I was about 10 years old. So I lived there until, I went off to college way back when. Yeah.
And you should tell your viewers how we connected.
Yes. So I would love to know from my mom,
Strangely
actually.
Enough.
I think they went to school together. Your mom and my mom.
Our moms are old friends. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. She says it was 2 years old. Thanks, Mom. You corrected me. I was 2. It's hard to remember.
Oh, please. I can't even remember. I'm glad you said it was Wednesday because I had no idea what today was. So.
Yes, it's Wednesday. It's Camel Day. That's what we call it here.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I lived there until I was 10, moved to South Carolina, blah, blah, blah. Now I'm here in Savannah, Georgia. Have you ever been to Savannah?
I've been to Savannah. I love that city. I was on tour with the Buddy Holly Story back in 2001, right during 9/11. Actually, we left, and Savannah was one of my favorite cities we went to. It was so cool, and the people were so nice, and the food was so great, and there was all those ghost stories and stuff like that. It just felt like a different time. Really, really cool place.
Yeah. I fell in love with it when I moved here, and I left for a little while, but I came back and I haven't left since. It's home to me.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mom. She doesn't live in Columbia anymore anyway, so I can say whatever I want.
She can come visit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see. Actually, Uncle Billy and Donna went to school together. Oh, there you go.
Okay. All right. Oh, there we go. All right. I remember Savannah. I remember is it a small little theater in the kind of Court Square area, like in the middle of town? Yeah, I remember that. I remember walking into that town and just feeling, with the bus rolled in and we were like, oh, this is going to be a good place. And I think we went and watched like Taffy being formed over by the water. And we went on one of the ghost tours, and that was a lot of fun. I just loved it. I had to get shrimp and grits when you're in the South. So
absolutely.
And I loved it. I thought it was a great town.
So
my wife's never been, so I'd like to bring her.
You've performed at the historic Savannah Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's crazy. So and that was back in either 2001 or 2002. I can't remember which year.
I've performed there 3 times. So this is
very cool.
This is the second thing that we hold in common now.
Yeah.
And now I got to jump to the third thing, which is just crazy because I just found this out this morning. We have the same birthday.
Oh, that is crazy.
Yeah.
So we were destined to meet, right?
Yes, exactly. Destined eventually to meet. I think it was probably 6 or 7 years ago where my mom knew that I was doing theater, and she's like, listen, there's this guy, he's up in Broadway, and so-and-so went to school with his mom and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, or something like that. I don't remember the exact conversation. And I'm not doing my mom's voice justice at all. That's not her.
I think when you do any female, you kind of have to talk up here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they all talk like that, right?
Yes. My mom is more akin to...
I'm not serious, ladies. I'm not serious. I'm joking.
No, absolutely not. Most women have very deep voices, as we know. But yeah, she mentioned that you and your wife were on Broadway together, which I think is amazing.
My wife she's a playwright, and she actually had this new show that she had written, which was she has producers, and it's like ready to roll, and then the pandemic happened. So it's kind of we're both kind of sitting here in a holding pattern. We're not really sure. I mean, they said that Broadway's coming back in September, but Cameron McIntosh from across the pond in London says that it's going to be next year sometime. So I don't really know. It's kind of a weird, sad, kind of scary and complicated, and like what's happening. And obviously we want to do what's best for the planet and for everyone's health. You know what I mean? So everyone has ideas. Everyone has speculation about what's going to happen. So we're kind of just sitting back and waiting to hear what's going to happen. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Savannah is, of course, a much smaller market than Broadway, but we're very much in the same boat. We're waiting for things to open back up. My friends at the Savannah Theater have a small plan to try and do something in the coming months, but at the same time, it's nowhere near what we as actors would experience.
No, and it's really sad because New York really thrives on tourism, and I just went walking through Times Square yesterday, and it really is kind of really strange. It's all of Times Square is just basically homeless people and police officers right now. That's all it is. And there's occasional people who live here who bike, and I just kind of walked through to see what was going on. All the stores are closed. The theaters are kind of dark. I mean, Frozen was the first casualty of the pandemic. They're not coming back.
I just heard about that.
Reopens. And so it's kind of, I mean, I have friends in that show, and they're out of a job now for a long time. It's kind of a weird thing. And it's always been an interesting thing because the theater world to me has always felt like something that would survive anything. Because no matter even during 9/11, people were going to the theater because they just wanted to laugh and just wanted to have feel something different than this sadness. You know what I mean? And so now it's kind of, everyone's trying to figure out the online situation with shows and stuff like that. And it's not the same, obviously, but it's something, I guess. So.
Yeah, I think I was talking with a couple of members of the local community, Jennifer Doubleday and David Poole. I have to say their names because I really appreciate them. But we were talking about the future of online and how different platforms are trying to do ticketing for online. And I think that's wonderful. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you do miss that audience component as an actor.
Yeah. And I think, well, and the audience is often, my wife was telling, you know, because she writes plays, she was telling me, she's like, you write shows based on an audience being there and seeing it. And a lot of times the audience can be a member of the show, a fourth character, a fourth wall, you know, breaking the fourth wall, but there'll be another character because they're there with you in this live experience. So it's kind of hard to replicate that on a digital level, but everyone's trying real hard. And I applaud anyone who's trying to keep art going during this time, because we need it. What I mean? Like, it's one of the things that I've really been, I've noticed that people are really thriving on watching shows and watching, Netflix and things like that. But these are all artists that put this together. And if artists were not valued before, they certainly are now, because we are, the artists are keeping people busy and like occupied and otherwise, what are you going to do during a pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, I mean, that's for sure true, and connected as well. To be able to see a face. I mean, you're begging to see a face right now. I've been binging Friends, oddly.
Yeah.
And I've just been getting back into that and enjoying the whole story, the whole narrative. And we're almost to the end, and I'm almost sad again.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen The Office, and so I decided to start watching The Office during the pandemic. I watched the British one first, and then I watched the American one, and it's literally the greatest television I've ever watched in my life.
It is. It really is.
And the characters are so amazing, and everyone's perfect on that show, and everything that happens is just the perfect example of, I mean, like, obviously some things are worst case scenario in an office situation, but it's so good. And I'm just like so glad that they made that show, and I can sit there and experience it for the first time. So
yeah. So I have to ask, what episode are you on right now?
Right now, I'm on the Christmas episode when Holly, the HR woman, comes back.
Okay.
The one that Michael's dating. So and obviously Jim and Pam got married, and that's like that's one of those relationships. I'm just like, oh, these two.
Spoilers, folks.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
You know what? I think I'm probably the last person on the planet who has not seen The Office. So
yeah.
I'm spoiling it for my son.
Yeah. Well, actually, my wife hasn't seen it. I've seen the entire thing. I have this weird thing where I have seen many more shows than my wife, because I'm a closet watcher. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I'm watching one right now, as a matter of fact.
While we're doing the interview.
Anyway. The Office is a truly great show. And let me just speak to a minute about what John Krasinski has been doing this whole time.
Oh, please, yeah.
I just find that so amazing. I'm sad though, because he just did his last show for a while. I guess because he's gotten busy with other things, which is great. But I think it's been a real inspiration for people now.
He really has. I don't know if anybody's watching. They created this some Good News Network, or I can't remember what's. And so he's just been trying to focus on everything that's really positive and good that's happening in the world right now during this awful time. And it is, go to YouTube and watch every episode. It's really, it'll make you cry. It just kind of, and it's not just about people doing things during the pandemic. It's other things, people just doing nice things because they're good people and stuff like that. And he had his daughters, I think, draw the colorful logo and everything. And it's just like something a kid did on a poster. It's amazing. It's perfect. You know what I mean? It's perfect. So
it really is.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get him on the show. So if you know anybody.
Well, I'm glad you're doing this, because it gives people some insight in the theater, and we're all missing it right now. So we might as well kind of find out some new stuff and trivia and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Like and Anika, you had Anika Larson, my friend, former castmate with on Broadway in Avenue Q.
That was funny how that came about. Well, the reason why I'm doing it in this platform is because about 2 years ago, we bought a Subaru Outback, and it came with Sirius XM.
Okay.
And we discovered the Broadway channel.
Oh yeah.
And
that's awesome.
And so, yeah. And I didn't know about it. It's amazing. I love it. And I just listen to the songs constantly. And my son is like, please change the channel, Dad. Because he's 18 and he hates everything Broadway, but that's okay.
I'm lucky. My 5-year-old loves it. So
that's awesome. Well, I have a 16-year-old as well who is very much into it. She she actually did the show yesterday and talked to one of her friends.
Oh, great.
But anyway, long story short, I talked to Seth Rudetsky.
Oh, good.
No, I didn't talk to Seth Rudetsky. Sorry.
Oh.
I've never talked to Seth Rudetsky, but if he wants to talk to me, that's fine. I was listening to his show and he talked about Stars in the House, and then I watched Stars in the House, and then Anika, and I know her name pronunciation now, by the way. Anika was talking about how she would speak to anybody, so I emailed her, and it's amazing that she's
really great that way. Anika is one of those people. There's a few people who've gone through Avenue Q, and I've known immediately that they were going to be stars, and Anika was definitely one of those people. Ruthie Ann Miles was another. Rob McClure. I mean, these people, they have something that is just very special, and the talent, the hard work, the commitment to the art. It's really kind of exceptional when you see it. So Avenue Q's been lucky. It's fostered a lot of, superstars. So
yeah. Well, I mean, considering how long it's been around, I mean,
sorry, you go ahead.
I was saying you were with it for 16 years, and it just closed last year. But how long before that?
So I was in the. I said 16, but I think it's 13. Anyway, but I think I was in the Vegas production in 2005. So they opened up Broadway in 2002 and 2003. They won the Tony Award, and they were supposed to go on tour, and then they did a surprise, and then Steve Wynn at the Wynn Hotel opened up a production of Avenue Q instead of going on tour. And so we were there. We were in Vegas. That was my first production of Avenue Q. I went to Vegas. We had 2 casts that alternated 10 shows a week, and we were just treated like gods out there. We had our own apartments and rented cars, and we had free food at the casino, and it was the hottest, newest casino on the Strip. So everything was just top of the line. Anywhere we went, to bars or to places like that, they would give us bottle service, and it was like the life of a Beyonce. You know what I mean? Like, basically, is the way we felt all the time. And then Steve Wynn decided he wanted to cut the show down to 90 minutes. And so we had to work on making the show a 90-minute version, which worked. It wasn't the best production of Avenue Q in terms of the storyline, but the writers really worked really hard to make it happen. And we did it for, about a month. And then he got a wild hair up his, and decided he wanted to bring in Spamalot. And so, because they had just won the Tony. And so then they shut us down after 9 months, and we were selling pretty well. We weren't sold out by any means, but we were at least 2/3 full. And it's the funny thing about the Vegas shows, though, is that they're really not meant to make money. They are really just meant to bring people into the casino, and they put the theaters in the back of the casino so that everyone has to cross all the machines and the games to get to the theater, and they have to cross all of them to leave. And it really is kind of an interesting model for entertainment. I'm not a gambler, so I don't get it, but I can see the marketing of it and the way it works. So, but it was that was one of the greatest experiences of my life, going to Vegas and living out there for a year. It was so much fun. I had lifelong friends from there, and I had a blast. It was my first foray into Avenue Q. And then a year later, I was asked to join the Broadway company. So I was, and then when I joined that, I was in that since it closed, until it closed last year. So
yeah, amazing. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And so just because my mom is watching, she doesn't know what Avenue Q is. So give a brief explanation of what Avenue Q is.
Imagine Sesame Street on crack.
Yes.
It's like an adult Sesame Street. Basically, what they wanted to do was the writers were Bobby Lopez of Frozen fame and everything else, his 2 EGOTs he has, Jeff Marks and Jeff Whitty, and they wrote the show, and Rick Lyon, who was the puppet designer. They all kind of got together, and they wanted to come up with a project that dealt with people moving to New York after college, and what the hell do I do now? You know what I mean? Like, I have this diploma and I have to get a job, and I don't really know what to do with my life. And it was kind of an interesting situation they were in, and they just decided, they were temping at the time, and they decided to write this musical. And so it became this thing where they said, why don't we do Sesame Street for adults? So that when you watch Sesame Street as a kid, and my son watches it all the time, we're also good friends with Alan Moroka, who's on the show. And we know him, we're friends with him, and my son thinks he's the biggest. My son thinks he's so important now because he knows Alan from Sesame Street, so it's kind of amazing. But they want, the life lessons you learn in Sesame Street of, how to deal with problems, how to deal with someone who's angry with you, how to deal with your emotions, how to deal with things like that. Let's do this for adults. And it really came down to these crazy characters, some of which were puppets, some of which were humans, trying to help Princeton, the lead character, get through all of the trials that you go through when you grow up, basically. And the funny thing is that most of the people on the Avenue are these ridiculous characters. And they even admit at some point, even like we're all working or we have jobs or we don't have jobs. We don't know what we're doing either. We're just trying to figure it all out. So it's kind of and that I think the wonderful part about Avenue Q at the end is, he struggles and he struggles and he struggles, and then he thinks he has it all figured out, and the rug's pulled out from underneath him. And it's like, he says, why does everything have to be so hard? And the characters then come and say, everything is only for now. Like, it's whatever you're going through, it's not forever. And if it's, all of you could put it to this pandemic in some ways. This isn't forever. We're going to get through this. We're going to figure it out. And the one thing you have to remember is that human beings are, I think, are really good at their core, and we will work together. I mean, what we've been through in the city has been unbelievable, but the city has really, as we always do, band together and done what we need to do. You told us to stay home, we stay home for 2 months. We don't even question it. We just do it. You tell us we need to wear masks, everyone's wearing masks. Everyone's staying 6 feet away. I mean, save for a couple of people, but for the most part, we have drastically brought these numbers down because human beings, I think, are just really good people, and they want to do what's right for everyone and what's good for everyone. So Avenue Q plays into that a lot, because the song For Now is very much about, like, one of the lines I love is, you're going to have to make a few compromises, but only for now. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a wonderful way to look through life. You're not going to get everything you want in life, but if you figure some things out, you'll be happy, and you'll figure out what's good for you and what's good for your life. So I'm a huge fan of Avenue Q. I'm probably more at this point, more of a cast authority on it than most people, because I've been doing it so long. I wouldn't say I'm the authority, but I definitely have. I've done, I think I did over 5,000 performances of Avenue Q. And wow. I will never, ever regret one single show. And it was my life for so many years now. It was definitely a big part of my identity. And when it ended, I was like, oh, who am I now? I'm not in Avenue Q anymore. So.
Oh my gosh. So I've got to talk about the one character in Avenue Q. And I don't know if it stayed through the whole thing. Gary Coleman.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought you were going to ask someone else, but of course, Gary Coleman's the one you asked about. So Gary Coleman, who, if people don't know, some people don't know this, he passed away in the middle of our run of Avenue Q, and we were trying, it happened, and Gary Coleman is a character in the show, and they tried to get him to be in the show initially, and he didn't want to be in a part of it because he thought they were making fun of him. But what they were trying to do, like, Gary Coleman in the show is kind of this, is probably the wise old sage on the stage and in the neighborhood. No one's been through as much as Gary Coleman in terms of life experience and horrible things. But the one thing that was admirable about Gary Coleman is he got up every day and started a new day and got a new job, and he had no problem being a security guard. He just was like, he loved life. And that was something, it was something very tragic about him and sad that his life was what it was. But we figured out, the Gary Coleman specifically figured out a way to celebrate him as opposed to making fun of him. Because I don't think that was the point. I think that's what he saw, but ultimately Gary was the one that had the most valuable information in the neighborhood. So, and when he died, the writers went back and forth, like, what do we do? What do we do? And so they decided to keep him in order to celebrate him, as opposed to just changing it to some other celebrity, which wouldn't have worked as well anyway, because his story was so specific and so interesting. And back then, in my childhood in the 80s, Gary Coleman was everything. I mean, he was one of the biggest stars in the world. And so it was, and Avenue Q was definitely like my generation of, it transcends all of that. But, and then so we had a couple of shows where we had a moment of silence for him after the show, and then we continued to do the show. And then the really weird thing about it is a lot of people didn't realize he passed away, and so they were kind of not really on that. They didn't understand why people were upset. They kept Gary Coleman in the show. So, but yeah, so we kept him in, and
yeah.
I think London had a different celebrity they used, which was
that makes sense.
A similar type celebrity who had a downward spiral of his career and sad things that happened to him. So, yeah.
I was always, because honestly, I haven't seen the show. I've listened to it a lot, but sadly, I never got to see it. There's actually a group that did it here. I think they do like a pared down version for smaller theaters. But I always knew that Gary Coleman was part of it, and I was always curious about why. But that's great. That's great.
That's where it came from. And there's always adult characters on Sesame Street, like Alan. And sometimes you have celebrities come in and they try to teach lessons about, who is it? Pharrell is always on Sesame Street now, and doing some songs and stuff like that. Or you see Emma Stone or someone, and it's kind of a really, and everyone, because Sesame Street is not like, it was public. I mean, it was, what do you call it? Part of the education and NEA.
Yeah.
And, for the longest time, now they're on HBO, but people were willing to donate their time to be on Sesame Street because it was such a cool thing to be with Big Bird and Oscar. And we had John Tartaglia and Alan both were able to get us on the set of Sesame Street. And God, I do that all the time. They are not the same show.
Right.
Tell your kids they're not the same show. But we were able to go on the set and take pictures in Oscar the Grouch's trash can. And my son, when he got to be older, got to play with Abby Cadabby, and just like he became friends with Abby and the actress who plays her, and kind of disrupted the set a little bit. But they didn't care because my son is just such a sweet gem, and that's what it's about. That's what Sesame Street's about. So it was really a kind of a wonderful experience. My wife was just in tears because, we grew up with Sesame Street, and now our son loves it. It's kind of something that transcends every generation, I think, in a lot of ways. So it was pretty magical to go on that set and see everything. See stuff hanging up in the rafters.
I have to get to this question. I don't know why. Did you ever think about moving to Avenue P?
I don't know what that means.
I don't either.
But it's a funny question, and it's Forrest Gump as the picture, so you got gumped.
Right. That's actually, he was on the show Monday. It's a guy who actually plays Forrest Gump here for tourists, and
okay.
Amazing. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I will say, I don't really know how to answer that question, but I will say that, there is actually not an Avenue Q in New York. If you take the train down to Coney Island, it goes Avenue P, and then there's like Quincy or something like that, and then it's Avenue R. There actually is no Avenue Q. But you know what? I'm not against it. I'll say that. Do they have toilet paper on Avenue P? I go there.
Yeah, how is the toilet paper situation in New York?
Oh, it's insane. That's what I love the city, but come on, guys, we don't need to hoard toilet paper.
Do you need me to ship you some? I'll be glad to ship you.
No, we're okay now. Like it's come back. The thing that's not coming back is Lysol wipes, and it's the kind of thing like everyone just kind of went crazy, and I think it's the last 2 weeks my wife and I have kind of felt like less crazy. Like we don't feel like we need to wear gloves outside. We can just wash our hands when we come in. We will always wear the mask. We're very diligent about that. But in terms because it was like putting on a full hazmat suit to go outside for like the first month and a half, and then taking a Silkwood shower when we came home. You know what I mean? Like with the fire hose and just like, get the germs out. You know what I mean? And so now it's like, my wife and I actually think we might have had it in February because we both were sick, and we lost our taste for about a week. And looking back, at the time, we're like, I don't know if I don't know why I lost my taste for a week, but not knowing what had happened. And then, so we're hoping to get the antibiotic test at some point to kind of see if we can, donate plasma or something. But for the most part, New York has kind of kept it together. I feel bad for the homeless people because they kind of rely on donations and like that from tourists, and I don't know if a lot of the homeless people understand what's happening necessarily because they don't have iPhones and things like that. But it is kind of it's a little bit eerie in the city right now. It's safe. Nothing's bad's happening yet. I hope, but for the most part, it just is kind of an empty town, and that's for someone like me who thrives on tourists being here, and that's part of my way of life and how to pay my rent. It's kind of a really weird time. So, and we've never cooked as much in our lives. I'll say that. We definitely don't do. I mean, we try to. There's some businesses that are open, and we try to throw them some money and get some meals here and there. But everything's shut down still, and we're supposed to be shut down, I think, until June 15th. So, but our numbers are going down, so that's something to be grateful for. And yeah, I'm learning a lot about Legos, more than I've ever learned or ever thought I could know about Legos in my life. So,
well, that's good. Yeah. Have you built anything like really interesting?
Yeah, sure. Like my son, it's funny because he wants to put together the thing when it comes in the box, and then immediately wants to take it apart and build his own thing. So it's like we can't even enjoy how hard it took to put the Harry Potter Christmas train together. It's completely disintegrated now and he makes like little ships and things like. I mean, I don't care. It's what he wants to do, but stepping on.
Care a little. You care a little.
I do care a little. No, I do care because I'm just like, I just spent 4 hours on that, and now you took it apart. But stepping on them is a pain that I have never felt before, ever in my life. It is, and when you step on them repeatedly, and I look down, and they're just all over the floor. I'm like, my son's trying to kill me. Like he really is trying to kill me. There's no reason why all these should be next to me on the desk, and they are.
I think the first 10 years of your kid's life, they're trying to kill you physically. And then the next 10 years, it's mentally. It's
emotionally. It's like
emotionally and mentally. Yeah. I'm in that second phase, of course. So
that is one thing I've noticed that everyone with kids is going through. I mean, there's times it's a very trying time. Obviously, it's a very wonderful time in some ways because you get to spend. It's not a wonderful time to be a pandemic, but you really try to you really get to spend a lot of time with your kid and learn things about them and try to make the best of it, I guess. And but I've noticed with all the parents that the word challenge, it's a challenging time for a parent, and for various different reasons. Like my challenge is different than your challenge. You know what I mean? Like, but it's both hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's definitely days that my wife and I say we'd like to walk out of this store and never come back. Some days.
I get that too. I mean, I would think the schooling alone, right?
Yeah, that's been tough. Yeah. He misses it so much, and there's some days that he acts up and cries and has a rough day, and then that night when we put him to bed, he just starts crying and he says, "I miss my friends and I miss school." Like even a 5-year-old can emotionally kind of realize what's happening to him and why he's upset, and it's tough. It is really tough. So, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping the school's open, and I'm hoping camp happens this summer, but I'm doubtful it will. And and then the next thing we can hope for is just to have it, September.
So. Right. Yeah. I know that camps here, they're very different in what they're trying to do. The theater camp that my daughter goes to every year, they're trying to do some starting in June. Sorry, not January. That would be very late. But and they're trying to do like smaller groups, and of course have people go through training in how to deal with wiping things down and following a certain pattern. But of course, I mean, our numbers are much, much lower than your experience.
Yeah.
I think our number is topping out at it's not even 400 as far as cases. So we're relatively lucky in that sense.
That's good. I'm glad. I mean, I wouldn't wish this on anyone. And the problem with New York is that we're just on top of each other every second of every day. You're just on top of people, and even closing down the shows and the theaters and the movie theaters and like that, you're still in the subway. You're still walking around Times Square together, and still, you know what I mean? So it's, I feel like until we find like a vaccine, or if we can get the numbers down low enough that we can kind of try to return to some kind of semblance of life. I don't know. Theater, again, like not to harp on this, but I really just don't know what they're going to do. I don't think anybody does. And we even thought about what if you did like every other seat
Yeah.
And, that kind of thing. But then can a show run with a half a theater sold?
Yeah.
You got a lot of bills to pay. You got the rent, you have the actors, you have the crew, you have the, front of house and everything. So, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I guess we'll see.
I mean, I don't think theater's dead by any means,
No.
but it's just like, man, I wish we could hurry through this and get to the other side,
I know. Are you guys doing anything else to pay the bills right now?
Yeah, I'm actually doing some side work for a friend, and but it's we're lucky we live in an artist housing, so our rent is kind of determined based on our income. So if it goes down, this was the part of the point of having a building like this is because artists in the 70s didn't really have a place to live, and 70s in Midtown New York was not a place you would ever want to go, even in the daytime. And they realized if they were going to bring New York City back, they had to bring Broadway back and the arts, jazz and dance and Lincoln Center and things like that. So they said, why don't we have a place where actors can come and live, and that will help bring back Midtown and Times Square, and that will help bring in the tourists, because ultimately that's what it was about, is bringing the tourists back. And it worked, and they needed, like, we're these artist housing I live in right now, there's a bunch of them around the city, but this was one of the original ones, and it kind of helped rejuvenate Midtown and Hell's Kitchen and Times Square. So but we're trying to, there's a great what's her name, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, Elizabeth Gilbert. She has a wonderful TED Talk. If anyone's an artist out there or a theater person or a writer, go and look up Elizabeth Gilbert's TED Talk and about genius. It's called like Catching the Genius, or something like that. It's a really fascinating TED Talk about how your genius isn't always working for you. And so, like, there's a lot of people who are really trying to write stuff at this time or trying to create something right now, and it's a really hard time to try to create something. And so she did a follow-up Instagram video of what to do during this time to help stay creative and things like that. And one of the things that she talks about is how she just put all of her art supplies on the dining room table. And so there's always, she's like, honestly, I can't write right now. Like, I'm trying, I do a little bit here and there. And she said, but every time I pass by that art table, I will do something. I'll doodle something or I'll paint something. And it helps, like, it helps you be a little creative in a way that's not necessarily your creative field right now. Right. And so I thought it was just dynamite advice. So we did it. We put my son's, all of his art supplies on the dining room table. We leave them there. We come by and we all do little art stuff in here and there. And I've had a couple of auditions, during this, it's really weird to sing a song into an iPhone. It is one of the most bizarre things I've ever done. And then you're trying not to sing too loud because you're going to sing it into an iPhone. Yeah. And then you're not singing to anyone, or it's just kind of a weird thing. But the one thing I do think that's going to happen from all this, I think more self-taping is going to become the norm in this business, and people are just going to have to. I don't mind self-taping because it lets me control my variables, and, like, because auditions are nerve-wracking for everybody. But I can kind of put myself on tape and try to figure out what's the best way to do that and kind of present myself. So I think that's going to become more norm. We're just trying to, each day, we're just trying to get through it. I have some friends that are alone at home right now, and they're struggling because they're alone. They feel really, depression sets in, and you're alone. You don't have anyone to kind of connect with or physically hug or talk to. And, I joke about my son, but be able to hug him at night and hug my wife and kiss and just kind of be together and have that kind of connection is really important right now. So, we're trying to stay busy.
I'll say, if you're out there alone right now and if you need a hug, just give us a virtual hug right now. We're hugging you back.
I'll hug you right now. Give me a big hug.
big hug. Gosh, I forgot. Oh, I know what I wanted to say, and this is totally off topic at all. I loved the show Jessica Jones. Oh, okay. And I especially loved your cameo in that. That was amazing.
That was interesting. Yeah, if you go to Jessica Jones, I think it's like the 3rd episode, maybe. Yeah. I play a what do you call it? A construction worker. Yeah, like a lot. Like, I'm fixing the glass because she she's a superhero, and something happened to her door, and it got busted open. And she comes in and she busts open the door and throws me against a wall, and I cut my leg with a saw. And it is the most fun to be in a show and get hurt. It's my favorite thing in the world. I've done it like 4 times now. If you go, I was also in Sneaky Pete for the 2nd season, and I got well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a lot of guns and there's a lot of action. Yeah. And but so like I always said, I always get hurt in the shows. I'm either playing, you know, a cop or a security guard or a prison guard. And of the cops, there's singing cop, chubby cop, lazy cop, funny cop. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, and I said, I'll have that career forever. But I said, one day, if I'm ever on Conan or something like that, and they're like, we have your reel. I was like, and it's just going to be me getting hurt in every single show that I've ever been in. I was like, this is fantastic.
So you have a specialty. That's
yeah,
important.
Exactly. I have no problem getting maimed. A slight maiming on a show. Pay me. That's all I care about.
Oh, I would dream of that. Maybe that's what I need to put on my wish list, is to get maimed on the show. Yeah. Maybe we could do a show together where we both get maimed. I think.
Yeah. Well, we have the same birthday, so why not?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, this has been a sheer joy. I've enjoyed getting to know you. I always knew that out there's a person who's knows somehow related to my mom and is in Broadway, and you happen to be that person. Anyway, so I have to ask, do you have something you want to sing today?
Oh, Lord. I could sing, let me think. Oh, you know what? I'll sing, my favorite composer is Irving Berlin, so I'll sing, it's a lovely day today, so whatever you've got to do, you've got a lovely day to do it, and that's true. And I hope whatever you've got to do is something that can be done by 2, or I'd really like to stay. You want the second verse?
No, that's good. That was really good, man.
It actually is a lovely day. Here, I'll show your viewers. I don't know if I can turn my camera here and you can see New York.
Let's see. Oh, look at that.
This is New York. There's Times Square over there. Can you see?
Yeah.
It actually is a very lovely day today. But you can see how empty New York is right now. It is very, very empty, but it's good. It's supposed to be empty. We're supposed to be staying home. So
exactly.
Yeah. So there's New York for you.
Thank you, New York. I can't wait to get back up there. We were there. When we were there, we were there 2 years ago, and my daughter and I came up for like an audition trip, and we saw some casting agents and all that. Nothing happened out of it, but the thing that we took away from it, we went and saw The Greatest Showman, which just filled my heart to watch.
I love that movie. It's so good.
It is. It really is. And my daughter and I saw Waitress together, which is
I love that show too. Yeah.
Yeah. It's simply amazing. Just the music. Betsy Wolfe was playing the main role.
She's incredible.
Yeah. I'm trying to get her on, but apparently she's having a baby right now. So,
well, you know, if she was any kind of friend, she would say, I'm going to be on the show and my baby can wait.
Exactly. Betsy, if you're listening. No, of course. Oh, I wish her well. We're not personal friends or anything, but you know.
I've met her once or twice. She's lovely person.
She seems like a lovely person. But again, this has been a joy, and I cannot wait until we can open theaters back up and I can see you on stage somewhere.
Or you too. I'd love to see you perform.
Yeah,
you could play Nicky Tricky in Avenue Q. How's your gravelly voice? Can you do Cookie Monster like that?
Okay.
Perfect. You're hired. Done. You guys should do Avenue Q in Savannah when you come back.
That's a great idea. Yeah. I will pitch that.
And you can, you know, if it's too graphic I realize that certain parts of the country are not keen on certain language, but you can always kind of tame it down. There was definitely events where we would, you know, the F word is not said much in our show, but it is said a couple times. And maybe twice, once by me.
I'll say that we did spam a lot at the Children's Theater as a main stage production, and I don't think we cut any of the wording out of that. So
okay,
yeah.
I mean, it's at this point. I mean, I feel like people are seeing worse on TV than they would in Avenue Q.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. So
Molly, what are you
shows
watching right now?
Turn
it off.
Yeah, it's probably me getting maimed.
Yeah. Amazing. All right.
That's mostly you.
Well, thanks so much
for having me on, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll have you back if I continue doing this. This is show number 40 for me.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I started back when this whole thing started. I just thought I needed something to do, and it's just turned out to warm my heart and just fill other people's hearts as well. And I so appreciate you coming on and helping me. Of
course. I actually have, I have a bunch of friends here in town. So if you need anybody, let me know. I might know them.
Oh, cool. Cool. Yeah.
Because I know everyone's got nothing but time on their hands right now. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
They don't have an excuse. Like it's funny because you used to have now you have an excuse not to go to someone's birthday or party or something like that.
Yeah.
But you have no excuse not to do an online digital interview.
Well, tomorrow, if you want to come back and watch, we have Jen Colella. She'll be on. So
I know her. Please give her my love.
I will. Absolutely, Nick. All right. Have a great day.
I adore her. Yes. Please tell her hello.
I will. And tell your son
Augie, to
pick up his Legos.
I will. And your kids too as well.
Okay.
Don't watch me on TV. It's bad shows. I get hurt.
Yes, exactly. All right. Have a good day.
Chris. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Wow, that was great. I so enjoyed that. Thank you, Nick, for joining us today. I look forward to getting to know you better when New York opens back up and I can come see a show. That will be amazing. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. And thanks for your lovely commentary. I've certainly enjoyed it. Oh, he's back. He's come back, but I'll talk to him in a minute. But have a great day. Talk to you later.